Hello, my name is Michael, and I am here to present a digital card game that I've been working on called Project Champions. I've always been a fan of card games, both physical and digital, and always wanted to create my own. The game was heavily inspired by Hearthstone and shared many gameplay elements, but I've added my own twists to it. For the time being, the game setting is just a generic fantasy setting, which might change later on development. The game was developed in Unity, and most of the assets were created in Flash. Since I am a junior level programmer and not an artist, I am temporarily borrowing art that I found on Google to use as a template for the meanwhile. As well, there are no sounds, music, or animations in the game. Everything happens is static and instant. If you never played Hearthstone or any card game, I'll quickly explain how those games are played. In most card games, you choose your cards to build a deck and challenge other players' decks. Most card games use similar kinds of cards. First would be the unit card, which is mainly used as your main source of damage to your opponent, and spell cards, which can do any number of effects. As well, these cards have power or mana cost to them, which is needed in order to play them. Depending on the card game, gaining power or mana is either automatically gained each turn or you have to play a power or mana card from your hand. My game will go with the second approach for gaining mana, which I will go into detail later. My game will consist of three kinds of cards: units, spells, and equipment. First, we will talk about the unit card, which has a mana and faction cost, an attack value that shows how much damage the card can deal to its target, then a health value that shows how much damage the card can take before dying. Next, we have the text box, which shows what the abilities and or effect the card can do. Finally, we have units, race, and job type, which are represented by symbols. I decided to use symbols instead of text to save space on the card and have more room for multiple race and or job types. Here's a quick image showing what each race and job symbol represent. As you may notice, race symbols are colored black and job symbols are colored white. Next is the spell card, which only has a mana and faction cost, and the text box explaining what the card does. Not much else to say, really. And finally, we have the equipment card, which comes in two types: weapon and accessory. Both cards have a mana and faction cost and a durability value, which is similar to health value for units, but only weapon cards has an attack value, as well as a text box like other cards. I will explain how to play and use these cards in the game later in the video. Now I am going to talk about the next gameplay element that I borrowed from Hearthstone, which are hero powers. Hero powers are abilities that a player can cast once on their turn. In Hearthstone, you have a hero power depending on what hero you play, but for my game, you can choose whatever you want, but you need to make sure you have the required faction cost in order to play them. As well, you're able to have two hero powers instead of one in my game. I keep talking about faction costs, but I haven't actually explained what factions are. There are 5 factions in the game, each with their own playstyle. You can have any number of factions in the deck. The first faction is Might, the red faction, which is an aggressive playstyle, mainly using units and weapons to deal damage. The more damage you are able to deal to your opponent, the stronger your cards become. The second faction is Knowledge, the blue faction, which has a playstyle mainly focused on playing spells. Those spells range from dealing damage, transforming cards, and drawing more cards. As well, some cards can become stronger the more spells you play. The third faction is Order, the white faction, which has a defensive and supportive playstyle, using cards that can summon multiple units, heal allies, and suppressing powerful enemy units. The fourth faction is Chaos, the purple faction, which has a playstyle to win by any means and at any cost: killing, stealing, and poisoning. They will even sacrifice their own cards and health to win. The fifth and final faction is Terra, the green faction, which has a mid-range playstyle where you mainly try to gain more mana than your opponent, which is used to play expensively strong units and spells. My goal is to design and code 20 single faction cards and 10 dual faction cards of each combination, so if anyone's interested in helping design cards, you can join my Discord group in the link below. I'll now go over on how to play the game. Hey. I didn't think I would be doing this, but it seems like the game doesn't work anymore. Like, it does sort of work when I do it, when I open 2 games on the same PC. But when I tried running this between my computer and laptop, the network didn't just doesn't work as long. It just, after a few minutes, one side loses connection and all that jazz, and I cannot find what the problem is. So sadly, I think I'm gonna have to remake this game from scratch. And that's probably gonna take a while because this is running an older version of Unity. And when I load this up on a new version of Unity, some of the assets don't work anymore. Some very important assets. I'm not sure how long this is gonna take me. I might get the bare minimum playing unit cards in combat maybe in a month, but the spell cards and all those fancy effects I made and all that jazz, that's gonna take a while on my own. But I'm gonna try to work on this. But again, if those who actually know what's going on, I'm trying to spend most of my free time grinding for community points on Twitch for Eternal, right? So I'm gonna try to see if I can find some help this time. But most people aren't gonna work for free, and I can maybe use some of that Twitch money, but that's not gonna last, right? No one's gonna work for like what, like $1 an hour. So yeah, but I still want people to maybe help at least design cards. We can design those 200 cards, and then once the game is at the same point where this is at, I can just program those cards one by one, right? So yeah, let's hope I can save some time by reusing most of the assets from here. But it seems like I still gotta have to remake a lot of it. Oh, it's not fun, not fun at all, you know. And there goes the webcam. So yeah, anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope I do an update video in the future. Bye.